Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
Hello and welcome to the ISO Show. I'm Steph Churchman and I'm the Communications Manager here at Blackmores. Now I'm usually the one behind the scenes editing and publishing the podcast, and as you probably heard in the little jingle intro, Mel Blackmore is usually the host. But she's taking a well-deserved break this week, so you've got me instead. And I'm not alone, I'm joined once again by Darren Morrow, who's a Senior Isologist here at Blackmores. And today we'll be discussing a few common mistakes to avoid while implementing an energy management system. Glad to have you back, Darren.
Hi, Steph.
Right, before we dive in, I'd like to give any new listeners a bit of context about ISO 50001. Now, in a nutshell, ISO 50001 is all about continually improving energy performance, energy efficiency, energy use, and energy consumption. By implementing an energy management system, you'll be able to fully understand and monitor and measure your use of energy. Like most other ISOs, continual improvement is at the heart of ISO 50001, and is also based on the Annex SL format. So it shares some similarities with standards such as ISO 9001 and ISO 14001. In fact, if you've already got ISO 14001 in place, you're already halfway there. So it might be worth considering adopting ISO 50001. If you'd like to learn about the full implementation process, I'd recommend going back and watching our Steps to Success series, which I believe are episodes 84, 85 and 88. Moving on to today's topic, I'm going to hand you over to Darren, who's going to highlight some common mistakes he's seen while helping clients with ISO 50001 in the past and explain how you can avoid making the same mistakes. Over to you, Darren.
Thanks, Steph. So, in many ways, mistakes that have been made can be aligned with the top tips that we'd discussed previously. Implementation and the ongoing management of an energy management system requires an ongoing monitoring and management to ensure improvement and the delivery of objectives, energy targets and action plans. With that, these are the areas that should be areas of focus to reduce issues that can occur. So, number one, lack of commitment from the top. This can be one of the biggest issues and can cause the most damage in relation to any management system. Morale, commitment and motivation for improvement can be lost if it's not seen as part of the overall culture and top management focus. Lack of and/or commitment to financial support, financial resources, i.e. budgets, should be reviewed and taken into account for investments. This can include at a basic level proper maintenance regimes to ensure equipment functioning at its most optimum. Additionally, being prepared to invest in newer technologies and equipment that have been designed and manufactured to be more energy efficient. Not aligning with overall organisational objectives. This sounds obvious, but objectives and goals, targets should be aligned and part of the overall business strategy, not a bolt-on. This aims to ensure that everyone in the business is aware and supports the system. This can also increase the likelihood of objectives and targets being met. Otherwise, the reality will be that the top management have a vision or ultimate targets for achievement, and the objectives are aligned and targeted elsewhere. Neither of these ultimately help with the overall improvement process. Number two, built by one person or department. This can link to the lack of commitment, but I've kept separate for this overview. If one person is deemed ultimately responsible, even if supported by top management, overall commitment throughout the business can be difficult, sometimes with comments such as, "That's Bob's job." With one person or department, there can be the lack of authority to make decisions, and inevitably they can become siloed from the rest of the business. Not hearing about improvement opportunities, not being involved in internal projects, etc. Ensure that even in a smaller business where one person may form the energy team and may ultimately be the responsible person, that everyone is able to contribute. This leads us back to communication, which we discussed previously. So, number three, implementation occurred in short time or rushed, and systems are not properly established. There are times when there is a business need or a business drive to implement a system, and can sometimes be rushed out without taking the proper time to review what is needed to build into existing management systems. With this, it can lead to confusion as to who is responsible and what responsibilities are being shared. It can lead to failures to record opportunities for improvement or for monitoring and managing any deviations in energy consumption that may occur and require investigation. And it could also lead to a lack of awareness among staff. These sort of things, when they're rushed, the basic elements can easily be missed, and with energy management, there are certain things that we talked about before with data collection and communication. They need to be planned, they need to be organised, and they need to be communicated. Manual controls able to be overridden by staff. So we're getting into the world of automation, so where we can avoid potential human interaction or human error. So ideally, where possible, during energy reviews, audits, consider those elements that humans have direct impact for the control and influence of energy. Are they able to change things? So we have some examples of where energy consumption occurs. Where possible, consider controls that can be centrally managed or automated. This can be through building management systems. Typical examples are heating and cooling. Problems and excessive energy use can be caused through individuals changing temperatures, resulting in work equipment working harder, and on many occasions working against each other. Lighting. Many companies now have sensor control lighting. This ensures lights are only switched on when required. Manual lighting controls typically have resulted in lights being switched on and left on in rooms that are not occupied. For an example, in meeting rooms. These problems or these issues cause excessive energy use. In the long term, actually costs more money to the business because you're using energy you're not actually having any benefit or use from. And number 5, data collection and monitoring. As we discussed previously, data collection is crucial in supporting business decision making and also to be able to demonstrate improvement. So some of the mistakes we see from this side of it is the lack of attention to monitoring and measuring results or trends. The likelihood is that data will not be collected properly, recorded incorrectly. This can result in data that is only used to populate a spreadsheet or software-based database if you're using one. The results may not be analysed at appropriate times to identify any trends or issues or deviations that may arise, potentially leading to inefficiencies in equipment, operations, and ultimately increased costs. Poor data collection and record keeping and general housekeeping. Again, poor data collection regimes reduces the opportunity to identify trends and or deviations in energy consumption. Data, if not collected periodically covering determined periods, will result in being unable to compare consumption on a like-for-like basis. This means you will only be recording usage with significantly reduced means to identify opportunities for improvement and or causes for deviations. Relying on energy bills for your data collection. Typically these can be estimated and basically not reading the actual meter. In my opinion, this should be the last resort for any data collection and where possible avoided. It will not provide accurate information to base decisions on. Inevitably, bills will show an estimated consumption and cost, followed by a reading some point during the year, resulting in an amendment or an adjustment being made primarily to cost. This has a significant impact on the data collected, along with any possibility of accurately identifying improvements and or deviations that could impact a business. So that's my top 5 things to avoid while managing an energy management system. We covered the lack of commitment from the top and throughout the business. Being built by one person or department, this can lead to lack of ownership throughout the business. We've covered data collection, issues that can arise. Covered bits of areas of communication and training. And the human element, controls that can be overridden by staff. Generally, many of these elements can be transferred to any management system. So even with a mature system, a failure in these areas can impact the overall efficiency, effectiveness of the management system. And that's it from me.
Great, thanks Darren for highlighting some of those common mistakes. I'm sure that's going to give any listeners considering ISO 50001 a lot of food for thought. And thanks again for joining us on the podcast. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again in future episodes. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. As a quick reminder, we do have a number of ISO 50001 resources available in the Isology Hub, which is our online membership platform. This includes an ISO 50001 handbook, document templates, and coffee break training courses which talk you through different aspects of energy management. As an added bonus, we're also offering a buy one get one free deal on Isology Hub memberships until the 31st of October. So if you'd like to book a demo with us, get in contact via our website www.blackmoresuk.com. And lastly, we'd really appreciate if you took the time to subscribe and leave us a review on your preferred media player, as this really does help us to reach a wider audience. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.